Okay, good morning, everybody. Hey, you're ready to go, San Diego? Okay, if you're here for the CD Summit, you're in the right room. And we're going to introduce ourselves. So we're your hosts today. I'm Tracy Miranda of CloudBees and on the Board of Governors for the CEDF.
And I'm Christy Wilson. I'm a software engineer at Google, and I lead the Tekton project, and I get to work with all the cool Tekton folks that are out here. Woo.
Great. So, Christy and I have some theories about why everyone is here today, and we know there's like an amazing number of other events happening. I think it's something ridiculous, like the 60 Day Zero events. So we really appreciate that you have chosen to come here and chosen to spend your whole day with us. But we do want to find out like some of the reasons that and what you're hoping to get out of the day. So I'm going to put people on the spot, and I think I've got my microphone friends. Okay, so does anybody want to share what they're hoping to get out of today or why you're here?
No pressure.
No pressure. You volunteer, I'm going to pick folks. Oh, we've got someone up here.
Hey, I'm basically interested in just hearing how other people build and maintain their pipelines and what types of use cases they have for their pipelines.
Okay, building and using pipelines, you're definitely in the right place. Okay.
We are moving off a legacy platform and for our build system, and we're deploying Kubernetes at the same time. So I'm hoping to get an overview of the ecosystem and get some direction on where to move forward.
Yeah, dealing with legacy and moving to Kubernetes. Who else is in that category? Dealing with the legacy system, moving to Kubernetes? Yeah, I think it's a common one. And Dan, did you have someone at the back there?
Sure. So I'm here to see all the people that I work with, like day in, day out for months on end without seeing their faces. So.
Yeah, and this is a great place just to meet up with people or get to know folks. So I think that kind of confirms it.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think most of us are here because we want to up our game when it comes to CI/CD, and then there's a bunch of us here who want to help folks to do that and sort of figure out how to get the best of their systems.
So as we go forward, a couple of reminders. So the code of conduct, of course, applies to everything that's happening today. There's a link on the KubeCon website if you want to see more details about that. If you feel like it's being violated at all, you can feel free to approach Tracy or I, or if you'd rather not discuss with somebody in person, at that link there's information about phone numbers and email addresses you can contact if you feel like you want to report something. And then also, if you want to tweet about this, there's a couple of hashtags you can use, or you can @ the Continuous Delivery Foundation. So we're going to go through a quick overview of the schedule today. So this is what the morning looks like. So we have talks, and then lunch is going to be here in the room. It's provided by Netflix. And then in the afternoon, we have a few more talks, and then we're going to finish up with a round of lightning talks. If you are giving a lightning talk and you have not uploaded your slides to the shared Google Drive, please do that. There's an email from Emily at the Linux Foundation that has a link. If you can't find that, just find me and give me your email address, and I can send you a link to the drive. We want to try to transition between those talks as quickly as we can this afternoon, but it's going to be really fun. So it should be really cool. They're 5-minute lightning talks. It's going to be fast and dynamic, so it should be really good.
I'm looking forward to anyone who tries to overrun.
Yes, I'm going to be like awkwardly edging on stage to enforce those times. And thanks very much to the program committee. So we had a lot of really amazing submissions for talks today. And thanks to everybody who took their time to review those submissions. So some shout outs here to the folks that reviewed submissions and are responsible for the excellent lineup that we have for you today.
Yeah, I think it was something like we had 57 talks and we could only have about 15. So yeah, really amazing.
And thanks to our sponsors, our diamond sponsors, CloudBees and JFrog, and our lunch sponsor, Netflix. And speaking of sponsors, we also have a cocktail hour this evening. So if you're interested in joining from 6 to 8, it's at the Marriott Marquis, so it's not here, it's in a building nearby. And so you can meet some of the people that are here today and talk more if you didn't find them already. And thanks for our sponsors for that, Puppet, JFrog, Deploy Hub, and White Source.
Okay, that covers all the logistics and getting started. So what we're going to do now is just give a bit of an overview of the Continuous Delivery Foundation, which is the foundation hosting this summit, and just tell you, a bit about the background and what we're trying to do as a community. So the CD Foundation is less than a year old. We launched back in March, and the premise was that it was going to be the new open source home for some of the fastest growing continuous delivery projects and some of the most sort of widely used. And when we launched, I think there was a lot of press around it as well, just sort of saying, okay, this can be a place where people can come together and collaborate and basically deal with the changing tech landscape as we contend with containers and just this explosion of environments. How are we going to make that easier to do? So the whole idea is that it's a neutral home, so it's a safe space. People can come in and have these discussions and figure out what works best for them as we evolve continuous delivery tools. I get asked a lot, like, does the CD Foundation include DevOps? Does it include CI? And the answer is yes, yes, and yes. I think we named it continuous delivery because we want to focus on the outcome, on our users, but it does include everything up to that point, the whole software delivery lifecycle, as well as the practices and culture around DevOps. So we are lucky that at this day and age, we do have some recipes for how we should be doing DevOps. Who's familiar with the awesome Accelerate book? Yeah, quite a few. If you haven't already seen it, I highly recommend having a look at it. And there's this great quote from one of the authors, Nicole Forsgren, and it just shows, that continuous delivery is a differentiator, and then the people who do it well, they keep getting better and better. So it really is important. We don't want to be left behind, because otherwise our businesses or our organizations suffer. And there's a ton of research as well about what that means, not just for our businesses, but for the people who are part of those teams as well. So hand in hand with the Accelerate book, we've got the State of DevOps report, and then it breaks down these key metrics around stability and throughput, and differentiates what they call elite performers. So maybe you've heard of we've talked about this myth of the 10x engineer. We can forget that because we've got the reality of the 2,600 times team. So I think we all want to be high-performing teams, and the report actually maps out how you could do that. What are the steps you can take? So it's almost like, why doesn't everybody do that? And the reality is that actually it's pretty hard. Change is hard. Working out the tools is really hard. So that's a big part of why we've come together with the foundation's backing, just as a community, to try and see if we can help each other all be elite performers. So how do we get there? Folks from CDF, particularly people helping drive it, we all sort of got together at DevOps Hall earlier this year, and we invited some folks along. So we had Jez Humble and a bunch of the board members, and we all sort of said, okay, what should we be doing as a community? Where should our focus be? And I love this tweet, which was taken by Tara Hernandez, which was a shame because she wasn't in the picture herself. But we were just sort of saying, how can we work together, and what can we do to just drive the industry forward? And the output of that was this list of sort of 9 goals, which we said, okay, we are really well positioned to be able to do this. Now, before anybody complains to me, because everybody goes, why do you have security as number 8? Shouldn't that be more important? It is not a priority list, but I do like the numbers, so I'm going to keep the numbers. But these are kind of the 9 different areas that we want to make progress in. So we're going to give you a quick overview of each of those, and you'll also find that those tie in very much with the talks we have scheduled today. So the first one to drive continuous delivery adoption. So we are uniquely positioned as a community to start driving some clarity and help people understand that massive landscape of tools, and really help convince bosses that this is important and they should give you all the time to work on it. And part of that will be highlighting success stories and journeys people take to get there. We have a CDF landscape, and Tracy Reagan is going to give us a talk and say much more about that.
Okay, so let's look at some of the other goals for the CDF. So number 2 is all about cultivating growth. So if you're familiar, these are the 4 projects that have been donated to the CDF so far. Growth-wise, you're going to hear some pretty cool talks, at least one talk focusing on each tool today, and some talks that talk about them all together. If you're interested in seeing the growth as far as contributions are concerned, Tracy actually wrote a really cool blog post where she takes some of the stats that we have available about contributions and compares them. And this is an infographic that she created that kind of shows the different amounts of contributions. And it's really cool to see how, like Kubernetes, of course, is huge, but then even like Jenkins is actually, like, for a project that's 15 years old, it's pretty cool to see that it's still going strong and has lots of contributions. And then other newer projects like Spinnaker and Tecton and Jenkins X are going steady as well, thanks in large part to a lot of people in the room here today. The third goal is to foster tool interoperability. So I don't think we have anything in particular to report on that today, except for the fact that we have all the projects here, and going forward, now that we're all in one foundation together, we can start focusing on working together and figuring out how to actually make our tools work together so you don't have to choose between them, and you can pick and choose the pieces that work best for you. The fourth goal is to champion diversity and inclusion, which is very important, I think, to a lot of people in this room. And a couple of things that we've been doing along these lines, there's the Outreachy program. So this is a way for folks who are less experienced and who are from underrepresented groups to get opportunities to be mentored in open source projects. And this year we have Tecton, Jenkins X, and Jenkins all sponsoring through the CDF Outreachy interns. And then also we had the CDF Diversity Scholarship. So I think it's at least 2, if not 3 folks that were able to come to KubeCon here in San Diego thanks to that scholarship, so that's pretty cool.
So we'll go through these quickly. So we realize there's existing communities out there, so we're looking to really work very closely with those. And great to welcome DevOps Institute, and we have Jane Grohl today who will talk to us a bit more about the collaboration happening there. And then on the membership side, CDF does have company members who help sustain it and fund it. So thank you very much to, these are the premier members, and I'll mention Fujitsu, who have just joined very recently. And then we also have a lot of vendors and especially end users. So we're really happy to have the end user companies in there who come in and help kind of provide input for the tool, so we know that we're building things that people actually want to use. Then in terms of creating value for all members, so that's not just about kind of the company members. We sort of see every CI/CD practitioner as a member, which is why we run these events. So this will be the sort of the last one of the year, but we've done them in Barcelona, Shanghai, and San Francisco, and it's always great when we get folks together in a room and see what the conversations are happening and see what the outputs are. One thing I'm particularly excited to share is that the CI/CD meetup community is just getting going. So the Jenkins had a jam program, Jenkins Ambassador Meetups, Jenkins Area Meetups, and this is something CloudBees had been running for a while, but CloudBees has contributed that to CDF, and we'll be looking to widen that up. So it's an amazing number of members, so 34,000 members across the world in 106 meetups. And so we're opening that up so people can join those meetups. If you want to start one, you can do so. You can have it as a general CI/CD meetup. You could have it technology focused on Jenkins or Tecton or Spinnaker, just as long as you're kind of bringing community together and helping people solve their problems in a local area. Yeah, I think that's the main criteria. So please do check out the meetups and have a look for some events coming up, possibly near you. So join one or create one and talk to us today if you want to do that.
And then finishing up with the last two, there's a couple of pretty cool and unique things that I think are reflective of the kinds of things we can do when we all come together as a community in the CDF. So our 8th goal is to promote security as a first-class citizen. So we actually have a special interest group that we've started around security. So if you're interested, you can join in, and there's a link here. You can join the working group, contribute. And there's also going to be Kay Williams and Santiago Arias are going to be giving a talk later today about supply chain security, which should be super cool. And then on a related note, expanding into emerging tech areas. So something that I think is very cool and kind of a front runner in terms of what we can see coming from the Continuous Delivery Foundation is the special interest group around machine learning, and machine learning being approached in kind of a GitOps sort of a manner. And this afternoon, Simon Kagi is going to be giving a talk about MLOps, which should be pretty cool as well. So if you're interested in more, please join us. You've obviously joined us today, but you can get as involved as you would like to. At the end of the day, we're going to finish up with some recommendations about like what you can do depending on the level of involvement you'd like to have. But definitely reach out to the people around you if you have any questions, because everybody is very excited about this and should be really fun.
Okay, that's the whirlwind tour. So we'll leave it there, and now we'll go into the main program.